All right, let's talk about getting your first aquarium. We're going to challenge the idea that it has to be this expensive, complicated hobby. In fact, I'm going to show you how to build a beautiful, low-maintenance micro-ecosystem that practically takes care of itself. And it all starts with picking 5 perfect, stress-free species. You know, a lot of beginners think a successful aquarium means a ton of gear, powerful filters, crazy lights, all sorts of gadgets. That's the myth. The reality? Well, the best, most stable tanks don't fight nature. They work with it. They create a living, breathing system that's way easier, cheaper, and honestly a lot more rewarding to keep.
So, how do we actually work with nature? First, we have to change how we think about the tank. We're not building a machine here, we're growing a tiny, self regulating world. And at the very heart of that world is its invisible engine.
Forget that high-tech filter for a second. The real secret to a healthy tank is something called biofilm. It's this kind of slimy, almost invisible layer of bacteria and microbes that coats, well, every single surface. The rocks, the wood, the plants, even the glass. This, right here, is your most powerful filtration system. It's the biological engine that keeps your water crystal clear and super stable. And this engine runs on something called the nitrogen cycle. Here's how it works. It all starts with fish waste, which creates toxic ammonia. Not good. But then, as you can see in step 2, one group of bacteria in that biofilm just eats the ammonia right up and turns it into nitrite. Then, a second group of bacteria converts that into nitrate. And you know who loves nitrate? Live plants. They just soak it up like fertilizer. It's this perfect, self-sustaining loop. Now, to get this system really thriving, you need the right inhabitants. You need a crew that's tough, peaceful, and actually plays a part in keeping everything balanced. So let's meet our 5-star crew for this little micro-ecosystem. First up is an often overlooked but absolutely fantastic choice for beginners, the white cloud mountain minnow. These little guys are incredibly resilient and they're beautiful. So their role is to bring that active, shimmering movement to the tank. They're totally peaceful schooling fish, so they won't bother anyone. But their key trait, and this is a big one, is their hardiness. See, they evolved in cool mountain streams where conditions change all the time. That means they can handle the temperature swings you might get in a small apartment tank, which means you probably don't even need a heater. How cool is that? Our next crew member isn't a fish at all, but you could argue it's the single most important organism for keeping your ecosystem clean and stable. Let's meet the cherry shrimp. Okay, if the biofilm is the engine, these shrimp are the maintenance crew. Seriously, they are tireless little workers. They spend all day grazing on algae, picking at leftover food, and cleaning up decaying plant matter. They literally turn waste into stability, and that bright red color? Just a stunning bonus. Honestly, when you see your shrimp thriving, you know your ecosystem is healthy. Now, if you're looking for a pop of vibrant electric color and energy, Endler's Livebearers are just a perfect choice. They're related to guppies, but in my experience, they're generally way more resilient. These guys are your colorful explorers. They're peaceful, they're always active, and they're checking out every nook and cranny of the tank. But the crucial point here is their small size. That means they produce very little waste, what we call bioload. And a lower bioload puts way less strain on your biofilm engine, which is a huge help in keeping the water pristine, especially in a smaller tank. You know, an ecosystem has different levels, right? And for the ground floor, we need a dedicated crew. So let me introduce you to the endlessly charming Corydoras catfish. These are your social, peaceful bottom dwellers. They use their little whiskers to sift through the sand, cleaning up any bits of food that fall to the bottom. This is so important because it stops waste from just sitting there and rotting. Plus, they have these fantastic, bubbly personalities. They're just a joy to watch as they bumble around in their little groups. And for our final crew member, we're bringing in another invertebrate powerhouse, a true specialist when it comes to cleaning surfaces, the Nerite snail. Think of these snails as the janitors. They are legendary algae eaters, keeping the glass, rocks, and plant leaves absolutely spotless. But what makes them perfect for beginners is their key trait. Unlike a lot of other snails, their eggs won't actually hatch in freshwater. This means you get all that amazing cleaning power without ever having to worry about a snail population explosion. It's a game changer. Okay, so we've got our crew. What kind of world are we going to build for them? Let's get into the setup. You'll see just how simple and low cost this can be. You really don't need much. A standard 10 or 20-gallon tank is perfect. For filtration, a simple air-driven sponge filter is your best friend. It gives you gentle water movement and, most importantly, a massive surface area for that all-important biofilm to grow on. Then just add some rocks and driftwood to create even more surface area and some natural-looking hiding spots. The final, crucial piece of the puzzle is live plants. And nope, you don't need a high-tech setup for them either. These are what I call bulletproof plants, things like anubias, java fern, and java moss. They thrive in low light and they suck nitrates right out of the water. They're basically a second layer of filtration that also happens to look beautiful and provide cover for your fish and shrimp. Now, here is a massive pro tip for these plants specifically. Anubias and java fern have this thick, horizontal stem called a rhizome. Whatever you do, do not bury it in the sand or gravel. If you do, it'll rot and the plant will die. Instead, you just attach them to your driftwood or rocks with a little bit of superglue or fishing line. Easy. So you've got the crew, you have the world. Now, how do you keep it all in balance? Well, it's less about what you do and a whole lot more about what you don't do. Let's cover the 3 biggest mistakes beginners make. First up, overfeeding. This is the #1 most common mistake. All that uneaten food just rots, creating a huge ammonia spike that can totally overwhelm your biofilm and lead to massive algae blooms. The solution is so simple. Feed your fish only what they can eat in about 2 minutes, just once a day. That's it. Second, overstocking. Look, throwing too many fish in at once is just a shock to the system. Your little biofilm engine needs time to grow and adapt to the amount of waste being produced. The solution here is patience. Start with just a few fish, like your white clouds, and then wait a few weeks before you add your next species. Let the system catch up. And finally, the mistake that feels the most counterintuitive, overcleaning. Remember that slimy biofilm? That is your life support system. When you scrub all the rocks and wood and clean out the filter media, you're not really cleaning the tank. You're destroying your filter. Gentle maintenance is the key. Just clean the front glass so you can see in and let nature's engine do all the heavy lifting. So in the end, a thriving aquarium doesn't come from fighting nature with a bunch of expensive gear. It comes from understanding and supporting a natural ecosystem. When you choose a hardy crew and you let biology do its job, you can create a stunning, stable, and truly stress-free little piece of the natural world, right there in your own home. So which of these species would you start with?